We moved inside to tidy up these wires and make the terminations down underneath before I finish hooking up the solar panels on top, so I have some way to isolate the power. Where we're making penetrations through the cabinets and into the basement, I have these little bushings. They work perfect with a 15/16 wood bit, and that's about what I require to make it through with these two big number 8 gauge. Get in there, two-handed operation. That's nice.
No, that's amazing.
We're going right there. We've got our wire pushed through the basement now, and we'll put this grommet on and make our termination for our breaker. Man, that's heavy insulation. That's some nice stuff. This will allow me to get up on the roof now and finish hooking up the panels without having anything live down here. Today's the day I want to be on the roof. It's 90 degrees. Tomorrow it's going to be 104. So let's get up there. Alright, when we went to bed, it was I just had these wires hanging flying. I terminated the positive and put it on the breaker. Since I put a 3/8 piece of plywood in here to have something solid to screw to, and I just used drywall screws to mount the inverter and the charge controller, and we're going to finish hooking it up now. Right now I'm building battery cables. If you want to see how I did that, I have a video. Find it in my playlist. Building battery cables. I bought this cheap hydraulic tripping tool off of Amazon, and we got a combination of zinc colored covered ends and copper ones. Right now I'm building the disconnect switch box. We didn't get a deep blue sea. That was just something we failed to order when we ordered parts, so we went to CarQuest Auto and got this battery isolator. That'll work. Let's get this job finished. Well, we remounted the battery disconnect. We got our wires fed through. Our negative. We're going to do our hookups now on our inverter. Next is the fuse. Put a little bit of this antioxidant on my connections here. It's just stamped steel. It feels like it might even be chromed. I don't know. 200 amp breaker. Okay, and a washer, and another. Done. Getting the negative pushed through the floor for the charge controller to go to the batteries, and I have the temperature indicator for the charge controller taped to here to help me fish them both through together since the wire is so much stiffer. We're all hooked up now, getting ready to test the system. So the way we got it is we'll start with the inverter. Going from the positive, we got number double aught welding lead going to a 200 amp fuse, and then into a disconnect switch, and then through the floor. The negative for the inverter again is 2 aught coming up straight to the inverter, and then we got the solar coming down. It's number 8 positive through a 40 amp bus breaker, and the negative is the same, number 8 in and out from the PV. This is also number 8, just doesn't have the PV insulation on it. So the positive is coming into a 40 amp breaker. We should be running almost 30 amps from the batteries. I guess it'd be about 28 amps. Not from the batteries, I'm sorry, from the PV. From the circuit breaker, we're going to the battery side of the disconnect switch, so that'll hook us to the batteries. The negative side, we're just running directly to the batteries, and we're going to through the floor. This wire is the communication wire for the charge controller for the temperature sensor. It's just coiled up here out of the way. We have a chassis ground, and it's running outside to the frame. So that ties us all up, catches us up inside. I do have connected for our test before we run the wire, the on-off switch for the inverter, and the controller plugged in here. So let's see what we have on the battery side. I have the positive hooked up already. So here's the positive coming from inside where the disconnect switch is for the power inverter. And then we have 3-aught battery ties tying the two batteries together. And here's the chassis ground for the trailer power. Here's the chassis ground for the inverter, and then our negative for the inverter. Here's our temperature sensor and our negative for our charge controller. I'll get those hooked up now and we'll give it a test. All our connections are made. We didn't have a spark on anything when we powered it up, or when we made all the connections. Let's light some of this up and see how it looks. Mike, do you want to come over and close these in, give you the honors.
Okay.
We'll do solar first. So not that one, we're going to do it from the battery side first.
So just push that red button in?
No, that's the trip button. You push the lever on the bottom.
This one?
Yeah, other direction. Okay, now we're closed. Got power. We just got indication on the controller. And here we are. Got power everywhere there.
2.9 volts, okay.
So that's the state of your batteries right now before we put a load on.
12.9 volts, so that's good.
Yes, that's fantastic. That
Okay.
held the charge very good from 2 days ago.
Yes, it did.
Okay, now we're ready to close our breaker from the solar.
This one here?
Yes, and it closes the exact same way. Pushes up,
Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
other direction. There you go. There, now you're charging. So, not knowing this controller yet, but we will very soon.
18.9 volts.
Yeah. Yeah, so now we have power to the inverter. Mike, I'll let you push the power on and see if it lights up.
Okay. Yep, green light is on. No fault.
So we've used the kilowatt and checked our voltage. We're exactly 120. Hertz, we're at 60. That's very important. So amps, I just got my Makita grinder plugged in here. So no load on the grinder, it's running at 1.5 amps.